Reduce is a function in JavaScript that applies to arrays. It works by taking a large array and returning something smaller. So that's either another array or a single object or even just a single value, like a string. And that's why it's called reduce, because you're reducing an array down into something smaller. So for example, if you had an array of strings, you could call reduce on this array and create one long string that's a composite of all these smaller strings joined together. Now this is what string.join does in JavaScript. So string.join is actually a reducing function, and you can actually write your own implementation of string.join using reduce if you wanted to. A second example might be an array of numbers. Reduce can take a long array of numbers and return one number, which could be, say, the smallest value in the array. So this is basically doing the same as math.min basically. Math.min is another reducing function that can be used on arrays, and you could write your own implementation of math.min using reduce. Example number 3, let's say you had an array of objects and each object had a value property. Well, using reduce you could get the sum of all of these value properties. Now you call the reduce method like this. It's a prototype method on the array object in JavaScript. So you just call it like this on any array object. It takes two parameters. The first is a function and the second is the initial value of the reducer. The function that you pass into the first argument has this signature here. There's two arguments, the accumulator and the current value, and a return type, which is the result that you're reducing to. When you execute reduce on an array, it will take your initial value as the starting point, and then it will call your function on every element of the array. This allows you to iteratively build up this result until it gets to the end of the array, and then it returns whatever was returned from the last execution of your function. Here we have the string.join function implemented in a reduce function. You can see we're returning the accumulator and then a space and then the current value, and the result from this will be passed into the accumulator of the next execution. So it's a bit like a recursive function. Now let's write out another reducing function. This time we're going to sum up all of these value properties on our array of objects. We can put the reducing code into an actual JavaScript function to make it a bit more obvious what's going on. So create a function called addValueProperty. That function will return the value property of the accumulator added to the value property of the current item. Remember, this will be called for each item in our array, and the result will be the sum of all of these values. So now put that into reduce as the first argument, and the second argument is the initial value. So we want to start from 0. We'll just use a 0 here. The reduce function is really useful when you have an array and you want to calculate some smaller value based on the elements in the array. There's plenty of uses for the reduce function, so let me know in the comment section below if this has been helpful, and here's a link to some more videos on the Train to Code YouTube channel. My name's James Charlesorf, and I'll see you in the next video.